Hatat, that means peace. Welcome to our not newcomers, about question and answer classes, where you can ask questions pertaining to our doctrine, which is called Wu-nuwaup, which is sound right reasoning. You know what I'm saying? Right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding. That leads to sound right reasoning. It deals with the spiritual ancient science that came out of ancient Africa from the Nile civilization millions, and you know what I'm saying, years ago, and also thousands of years ago when different beings came here and and seeded and terraformed this planet. You feel what I'm saying? So we ask these questions, when people ask questions dealing with our doctrine, so you get a better understanding of the religious background that a lot of people are trapped in. Whether you're a Christian, Muslim, or Jew, and Wu-nuwaupu, we welcome all. That way we can be able to explain in more detail so you can have a better understanding of your culture or your way of life. You feel what I'm saying? So if any other questions, the microphone is right there. You can ask any question you want, and we're here to answer your question to the best of our ability. And we can't answer, we'll refer to our 24 elder council or the master to give us the answer for it. Anybody got any questions? Go ahead, Tiff. I know you always like to ask questions. You got that question?
You know me on a question. All right.
Peace. How you doing?
How you doing today, Tiff? You doing okay?
I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. All right. I have a question. Well, actually two questions, but I'm gonna ask the first one. The first one is about the Dogon tribes.
Yes.
Okay. In the West African region, in Mali. Like, can you go into the detail of what the Dogon tribe really did as far as the culture and all?
The Dogon culture is the extension of the ancient Tamaran culture, or what you call Kemet. How do you say it? The word for it's Kemet, right? Kemet is how you say it in the ancient Nepalese tongue. Because the Europeans can't pronounce it, and we have trouble pronouncing it because we have that lazy tongue now. We'll say Kemet. You feel me? So what happened is it's an extension. They were in Egypt at one time, but they were exiled. I don't know why they were exiled, but one of the updates that master teacher, Pt.1, you know what I'm saying, the master of heaven and earth broke down to us, is that they were exiled out of Egypt. Next time we get a chance, we'll probably have to ask that question, why they were exiled out of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Because what happened is they took when they was exiled, if you study the Dogon culture, right? They had thousands of manuscripts. Have you seen?
No.
I know you know about that, right? They have ancient writings. Because people say that West Africans don't have any ancient teachings.
I mean, I know that for a fact is not true.
You know what I'm saying? Huh?
I know that's not true. I mean,
yeah, but the European, because no one ever saw it, so that, it gives them a little, what's the word again? Credibility to discredit the West Africans. But then but the Dogons don't care about what you say. We got them, so we had nothing to prove to you. But they actually started letting people see the caves where they keep the records stored at. Because they have this mountain type community. Did you know they have a mountain type community inside the rocks? Huh? If you go look at the Dogon tribe, they have apartments that's carved inside of the rocks.
Wow.
Villages on what's that, cliffs and stuff like that. And they must look at the pictures. I have seen the pictures. They had rock-made houses on the side of the cliff. This is to protect them from certain invaders and stuff. You feel me?
Right.
So when certain things happen, they go to these cliffs, and it's hard for you to penetrate that.
Okay, now.
Well, let me finish that. Let me finish that, boss. So the Dogon have these records, and they have the hieroglyphic scripts in it, but it's not the same hieroglyphic script that the ancient ones had, the masters had. Because they were exiled, they were never given the secret or the code of the translation of the hieroglyphics. Do anybody understand when I say translate the hieroglyphics? Tell me what I mean by that.
You said translate them?
Yeah, the translation of the hieroglyphics.
I don't know exactly. I know what translate means in hieroglyphics. You know what I mean? I guess to understand actually what they're saying, they crack the code.
What they're saying. But when we look at the picture, we're looking for what they're meaning.
The association, yeah.
Exactly. So if I see a heart in my hand, you already know what that means.
Yeah.
By what you have learned from association. Yeah. If I gave you this, the bird, if I flip a bird at you, you're like, okay, I know what you're saying. Yeah. You hear me? Because that's an association of what it means, but it doesn't translate. That means something else. You hear me? So what happened is our ancient masters and ancestors protected our language because they knew that there was going to come a time that they had to come out of the sun cycle. And when they come out of the sun cycle, they had to go into a moon cycle. You feel me? Moon cycle is when the 6,000 year Mukasu or Caucasian was created, the Adamite tribe, right? You hear me? And they were to rule through the moon cycle. This is where your moon religions or moon doctrine come from, you hear me? And they were going to rule for a certain time. So these masters couldn't be able to teach no more as masters. So they had to go in exile or they had to go underground. A lot of them became rabbis, imams, and reverends, whatever religious doctrine was predominant in their area at that time. They had to play religious deity dumb, like they didn't know what was going on. I mean, if you study a lot of these cultures and go far back before the religious doctrine, when you deal with the Catholic Church, the further you go back in the Catholic Church, they call it the Gnostics. Gnostic priests. You know anybody familiar with those? The Gnostic priests are the people that study the esoteric doctrine of Christianity, which goes back to the Kabbalion. You hear me? Or what they call the so-called emerald tablets of Suhuti. I know y'all familiar with it. You hear me? So when you go into the Islam world and go back further, they call them the Sufis or the Mutasawa. You hear me? Then when you go back into the Jews, they call it the what? The Zions. You know what I'm saying? Or the illuminated ones. The luminous. You know what I'm saying? So the further you go back, you find that they have ancient teachings in modern religions. You hear me? But then when you go back to the ancient teachings of these religions, it's not religions. These are mystical schools of masters who have left, went to Egypt and studied under the supreme grand masters of ancient Egypt. You hear me? Learned, then they took their doctrine back and started teaching their people the doctrine, but they had to water it down to fit their culture. You feel me? So I'll get to you. You can get on that mic. So what happened is when the Dogons were exiled, they were never given the science on what is the hieroglyphic mean. Anyone familiar with this symbol right here?
No.
Right? But when you study the Egyptian hieroglyphics, it's associated with a sound. Right? Like you got ah, ba, ka, ma, pa. You know what I'm saying? Those are tones, right? So you can pronounce words. When the ancient masters was concocting the hieroglyphic language, you don't know how to say the word concocted, right? They didn't have to speak back then when they were drawing the hieroglyphic language. Concocting and drawing are two different things, right? Drawing it was that they didn't have to relay it because the picture spoke for itself without words, because it was a scene. It was like silent movies. You can watch the movie and actually didn't really need too much fighting. You just figured out just by looking at it, okay, they must be in love because of the way they're embracing each other, or he must be angry because the way. Because back then it was called method acting. And anybody know anything about method acting? You have to actually express and show how you feel, your emotions through how you move your body language. Well, a person can look at your body language and say, okay, I know what's going on. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? This is what they used to do in the era of the soundless movies. They were more of a method actor because they had no sound. You feel what I'm saying? So what happened is our masters translated the hieroglyphics with a tone. Then later on, that tone started depicting a story. And this is where you get your ancient Egyptian stories of the flood and Isis and Imsatak and Osiris and Re and, the different things, right? And so the Caucasian ran with that because then when we concocted the hieroglyphic story for them, right, with the tones, we gave them a slab of a rock that we concocted. We put Greek at the top, heretics, and hieroglyphics. Then we took it and we strategically buried it somewhere where it would be found eventually, right? So when the Europeans found the Rosetta Stone in the 1800s, right? Early 1800s, I think late 1700s, early 1700s, late 1800s, I think it was Pt.1, something like that, the guy that had found it. So they started translating everything off the walls. And they ran with it. The next, your so-called black scholars who became Egyptologists when you were already Egyptian, because the person who's an Egyptologist is somebody who studied Egypt. But if you're already Egyptian, you shouldn't be an Egyptologist. This is just your culture. They ran with the European translation, and they came with these so-called books, and they started saying, we'll call this the Metaneta, the Mitu Netir. This is the language, the Mitu Netir. Mitu Netir doesn't mean the words of the gods, but this is what they were told, because that's the way it was translated, so they can run with it. And when they ran with it for so many years, now in 2014, our master teacher is coming back, and now he's explaining that this is what? This is the clef note, tones, vibration, frequency. Every symbol that you see on the wall had a different meaning to it. Even when you look at right here, this right here is a stargate. this is the event horizon, and this is the black hole. What do your eye does when you see me? What do you see? Can anybody answer that question?
See whatever the light reflects from it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And where does that light go at? Into what?
Into your eye.
Into the what? The black hole. And it refracts it and it takes it in, right? Same way a black hole would take anything that comes inside of it, right? And crushes it, right? That's why the only thing that can go through a black hole without being destroyed is light. You feel me? And they call this a what? The event horizon. If you look up a diagram of the event horizon, this is shaped in an oval shape. And the black hole is right here. Then everything else is pulled into the event horizon. So actually, in time, this was called the Stargate. If you watch a TV show called Stargate, they called the Stargate a what? Anybody ever watch the show, right? Stargate, SG-1.
I heard you talking about with the black guy with this.
Yeah, but do you ever watch the show?
Yeah.
What did they call? What did they call?
I call it the Stargate.
What did they call it? They called it the iris.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the iris is what? This is exactly. So we can go to all these symbols and actually break it down, but then you have to learn. You have to come inside the ancient Egyptian order to get a further breakdown of these symbols and what they really mean. But the European ran with that, with the language, and thought he had something. Then all these black scholars thought they had something. Thought, I don't need to follow a Caucasian, but you're still using their translations. Who taught you Egyptology? You didn't learn from the Egyptian master because you wasn't there. You actually knew it, but it wasn't passed down to you because your parents were separated from you during slavery. And they didn't pass the information over to you. You feel me? So now it has became forgotten, but our master teacher is here to renew that history. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, and that's another thing. I'm glad you brought up slavery, because I want to get into religion for a moment. So I was watching this documentary about Israel.
Yeah.
And Israel and the Israeli and Palestinians going at it with one another, as you know. So as I was watching the documentary, I couldn't even get past the 6 minutes because they were torturing kids, the Muslim children.
Who the Palestinians or the Israelis?
No, the Israeli was torturing the Palestinians. I'm like, wow. But what I'm saying is, here's our people, saying that they want to learn about their history. They want to learn about, the African culture or whatever. But when they learn about it, it's classified as being evil. Yeah. Like, I was talking to somebody about this earlier. Yeah. I was like, why is it that, when our people say that we want to learn about our culture, but then turn around and say it's so evil because,
Yeah, it is. You know why? If you're the black white man, you want to look at it as evil.
I'm sorry, say again?
When you become the black white man, yes, it's evil. Mm-hmm. Because you got to understand this. You've been in America too long.
Right.
You became the black white man.
Right.
A black Caucasian. So when you say, oh, I want to learn about my culture, right?
Yeah.
You start learning your culture with Christian, Islamic, Jewish ideology already inside your DNA. Because your grandmother, your grandfather, your great-grandmother, great-grandfather, your great-great-great-grandfather, great-great-great-father have been indoctrinated. That in 400 years, the religion has become a part of your DNA.
Right, but
I'm about to explain. So if it's in your DNA, right, and you're being taught this from generation after generation, right, and you say, well, I don't like this no more. I want to learn about my culture, right? And when you get in your culture, you're like, wait a minute, this stuff is... Yeah, because you're on the outside looking in.
Right.
African culture has become alien to you because you have became the white man.
Right.
Listen what I'm saying. You have became, not just you, all of us been here so long that we think, act, sleep Caucasian. Because right now, if I ask you, name something African that you do, tell me.
Burn incense.
I asked white people, what makes you Caucasian? Beer, liquor, killing, robbing, raping. They ain't got no problem. They don't. They go right into it. You ever watch the Game of Thrones?
Oh yeah.
That's the Caucasian mentality in its purest form.
Right.
And we act just like that, but we just don't kill as much as they do. But the reason people ask, why do black people kill each other? Because you're the black white man. You have nobody to oppress. So there's nobody lower. According to society, there's nobody lower than the black man. You hear me? So he's going to kill himself. Now, if the Mexicans were underneath the black man, then the black man will kill Mexicans. You know, it's like it's a food chain. You feel me? Yeah, go ahead, dog.
And okay, then what gets me, like, I left the Hebrew Israelite organization about like a month ago. So, but here's the thing: the Hebrew Israelites that I was with, they know about the Egyptian culture. They know that the Torah gets its concept and idea from the Egyptian teachings, doctrines.
Yeah.
But yeah, still, what kills me is they tell me, so a lot of them say that the King James Version is not correct, but they still insist on that it's God's word. And then to really throw it off, they throw in the metaphysics to kind of sugarcoat it to make it sound good, you know. But my thing is, how can't you try to make something metaphysical and try to interpret something that has been mistranslated? And I was talking to a Hebrew brother. He said, well, you got to be Bible advanced to know how to put metaphysics with the Bible. But
no, you have to be culture advanced.
Right, okay, yeah, right. But here's what I was getting ready to say. I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you got to be biblical advanced, then that means you need to know the original translation of the Bible.
First of all, what's the main basics? You have to learn the language first.
Exactly.
You cannot sit here and say, I can break down what this means to you, right?
Right.
If it's in English. Because you're breaking down something in English, you're not coming from the original translation. So you can't sit there and interpret and translate and try to say, well, it means this, and you don't even read the original translation. If I say, look, I'm going across the street to get a beer, what would you say? Interpret that for me.
You going to the store.
To do what?
To go get some beer.
To do what?
Drink.
Okay. Now, let me just give you more detail. The circus in town, and I want to see the lion, tigers, and bears. And they tell the guy, look, the bear shows come out, you know, when they get on a tricycle, stuff like that, you know what I mean? Go across the street to the other tent and go get a bear to bring it back over here.
That doesn't make sense.
Listen, I'm going to say it again. I'm going across the street to go get a bear. Where you going? Oh, I'm going across the street to go get a bear. Did anybody catch that?
Yeah.
I got it.
Did you catch it?
Yeah. What you would say?
What is I'm saying? No, hold up. What I'm saying now?
You saying you're going across the street to get a beer, so basically you're saying that you about to get your drink on.
Oh, okay, she didn't catch it.
A bear.
Bear and a bear.
Yeah, it depends on the tone.
And then they say one
in the circus.
like this. If you say, write me a letter.
We're training animals. They said, hey, I need to go across the street and get a bear to bring it for the show.
Oh, bear.
So
I thought you said beer.
So when you say, where you going? I said, I'm going across the street to go get a bear.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said beer.
Yeah.
No, but it's the same tone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Bear.
It's just like if somebody said, write me a letter.
Exactly. So what happened is
what
happened is that when you're reading English, right? How can you interpret something that you don't understand because you don't have the control over the definition?
Exactly. That's
So that
point.
means that when they said black is bad, who wrote that? Then you go do research on the person who gave you the Webster and Wagner and Faulkner, right? And you look at these guys' background. These guys were Christian. So these are Christian races. That translate and said black is evil, black is bad, black market, black cat, black Friday, black male, angel coop,
but black
angel
means
fruitcake
something
is white,
good at one
devil
point in
fruitcake
time.
is brown or black. You feel me? So then your subconscious mind, black is already bad. You feel what I'm saying? So when people say Muslims, Sunnis, Israelites, Christians, they all sit there and say, well, I read God's word and I interpreted the way. Yeah, but you're interpreting it according to somebody else's ideology of what they want you to get out of this book.
Exactly.
So then you create a new religion in your mind. I don't need to read the Bible no more because I talk to God personally. You get to that point that people go past the scriptures because they get so confused that they can't explain that. Well, I just let God answer it for me, right? Then I said, well, explain it to me. Well, I talked to God. I said, what did he talk about? Well, he told me. I said, when he told you, did he speak in language? He said, yeah. What language? God's language. Did it have a tone? Yes. Okay, then what did he have? Was he nasal? Was he, did he have bass, baritone, soprano? You know, was he high-pitched, low-pitched, deep voice? You know what I mean? Did he sound like a Caucasian? Did he have an accent? Was it an Arabic accent? Was it Hebraic accent? Was it Old English? Was it modern English? Because I'm pretty sure God ain't going to talk to you in American English. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people say these stuff and it sounds so miraculous and mystical, right? But when you start dissecting this stuff, like this lady said she saw Jesus, right? And she saw that Jesus had a crown on with gold and rubies. I said, what type of rubies? She said, green and red and blue, right? I said, what, did he have a robe? He said, yes, he did. So what did his face look like? Oh, I couldn't see his face.
Oh, wow.
Oh, but you can describe what type of stones and color, but you can't tell me the face. This is the mentality we're dealing with. You feel me? So, yeah, go ahead. Hit the mic.
And another thing too, like, I noticed, like, in the Christian world today, you think something, you believe it so much, then you start having dreams of it.
Yeah, that's you activating your spiritual powers to manifest that.
Right. Just like, there's a movie out, it's this little boy who claimed he went to heaven. Right? So I'm like, when you think something, you start dreaming it and believing it.
Yeah, but here, watch this though. Prior to cinema, you never heard anybody say, I saw what they say?
White light?
A white light. Yeah. You saw these in movies.
Yeah.
But now you see the white light because it goes into your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
You hear me? But nobody, prior to cinema, nobody ever said, oh, I saw a light. It was like Paul said, I saw a light but see no man. You hear me? That's it. You hear me? It's always light.
So it's like, it's all a belief system, just like you say, it's in your DNA.
Yeah, but the belief system has become so powerful, it's easy for somebody to accept a doctrine according to belief.
Right.
And then when you give them the facts, it hurts them because, like, well, I was so comfortable with this.
Right.
I thought God was a sandwich. You hear me? Yeah, go ahead.
And then go on
Go ahead.
I mean, to go on with that, like, even they call him Jesus Christ. Christ is actually a title. He was given to 7 more guys before him.
Yeah, we know about the solar messiahs here. We know, But the whole thing is that they customize McDonald's to go worldwide, right? There's a McDonald's in every country, right? The same thing with religion. In order for me to put you under a spell, right, I had to customize a spell or potion to get you because you're not going to accept Isa the way Muslims do. You're not going to accept Yeshua the way Jews do. But you'll accept Jesus because some of these people are Roman Catholics and Greeks. You know what I'm saying? And then they colonize a country and say, look, this is the law of the land, this is our religion, you follow it or you're heathen. You know what I mean? So people accepted it for so many years. You know what I'm saying? But how can you worship, like our master teacher said, how can you worship the same master or same God as the slave master? When somebody said, you're a savage, you're a monkey. You hear me? Wait, I built pyramids, you dummy. You get me? How do monkeys build pyramids? We're not monkeys, you're a monkey. We came from out of the waters. You know what I'm saying? That's what my ancestors told me on the wall. You don't have to accept that. Respect our ways. You have your way, I have my way. I just don't want your ways in my country. But the Caucasian has always, listen, you watch their history. They go in everybody's country and say, look, we're here to bring democracy. That's not democracy.
Right, that's dictatorship.
That's a dictatorship. Because you're trying to dictate to me what's right and wrong.
Exactly.
People in this culture have been dealing with each other for 6,000, 10,000, or somehow so many years, right? Who are you to say we can't stone that chick? You hear me? We're going to stone her. Oh, that's not democracy. That's evil. Yeah, dude, we've been doing this for a long time. But if I let's follow you, right? You hear me? Let's paint the picture. We're not gonna stone the women no more because she did something foul that we felt was evil in our eyes. So we're not gonna stone her, right? We're gonna give her democracy, right? And what happens in democracy, right? Hey, you can do whatever you want to do. You can perm your hair. You can put on blue contacts. You can let your cleavage out. You can wear thongs. You can barely wear no clothes, right? And you want a man to love you. But he don't love you. He love your body. He love your booty. And you can't get mad at him because that's what you gave. And then you said, well, what can you do for me? Well, I don't do nothing. I just thought you just loved me for me. I'm going to need more than that. I got to pay these bills. You hear me? And what happens is the woman gets to the point that she can't be controlled. She becomes a whore, a slut, a thief, a killer, right? What do? I would just lock her up, right? Go to jail, try to rehabilitate her. She gets worse. Then comes out of jail and then teach somebody else the same mentality. It's a cycle. So some people was like, hey, what's this stoner? But now it's like, you feel me? But then it's a virus. And it catches on to the other females. And then you wonder why our women are dressing like Nicki Minaj. And Nicki Minaj was influenced by who? Lil' Kim, and Foxy Brown. You feel me? But prior to that, you know, there was no real sex symbol like that. The women were a little bit more modest, like Roxanne Shante, the real Roxanne, MC Light, Katifa. So they wasn't hoochies. And if you look at Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown, the only MC or female MC you can actually say they were influenced would be Salt and Pepper. You feel me? But everybody was influenced by somebody that's an influence, you hear me? But then it becomes a stream. Now you can't control the stream, then you wonder why these little pretty young girls can get with bums. These guys ain't got no jobs, they ain't got no goals, they ain't got no future, they ain't got nothing to offer them. You hear me? But one thing, and then the girl said, oh, and then when have you ever heard in 2014 women fighting over men? When I grew up, it was the other way around. Women didn't have to stoop to that level. Oh, you got my man, you fighting over a dude when you can get, it's like, you can get any dude you want if you look good. But you know, look at Love and Hip Hop. These video vixens up here fighting over this dude, and this dude ain't got no respect for him, and he's up there like, well, you can keep on fighting, I'm going I'm going with Jocelyn, you hear me? And they fight over the same dudes, and look how they be acting. They go, yo, I'm a real lady. I said, you're not a real lady. You're a woman. A lady would not carry herself that way. But this is the mentality, like Kenya Moore and Portia. I mean, they make a whole television series off of ratchet women.
Yeah, that's how they.
And they love the Kardashians, but the Kim Kardashian's a whore. Yeah. Nobody won't say it. Yeah, exactly. She made her millions by having sex with Ray J. Yeah. Now everybody wants sex tapes. Yeah, go ahead, though.
This is a online question from Stephen Cole.
Yeah.
He asks, when the Anunnaki came to Earth, Enki was not even born, correct or not? Because I know his mother was a humanoid from Tiamat, correct or not?
Yeah, but what happened is, what they don't understand is this. When they said from Tiamat, they was talking about the Meldekians that were already here. Meaning not saying that she was born on born on Tiamat, but her bloodline descended from Tiamat by way of Meldak. It's just like you got somebody that's like, you know, you might be African by blood and move to America, then next year you have children, then you move your children to Canada, and people say, well, my family is by way of Africa, but they come from America. You feel me? So it's about the location. And when they talk about Enki, he was born on Nibiru. A lot of people don't know, in the updates, our master teacher was saying that a lot of these beings were on Nibiru. That's why they said Anu was the master of heaven and earth. But he was talking, you know, Anu, he was the master of that because he was the ruler of Nibiru. But in the last update we had, we were saying that how Alelu took Anu off the throne and was trying to assassinate, kill him. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't succeed. And then what happened is the council on Nibiru gave it back to Anu. They said, because they said that Anu was not fit to rule Nibiru. But Alelu was the 8th and part of the 9th Anu that actually ruled Nibiru at one time. And he was from Meldak, he was also from Riz, and he was also off of Nibiru. So you got to understand this. You're dealing with beings that can reincarnate from time to time. They can, at one time, Enki could be on Riz in an incarnation. Then Enki could be on Nibiru in an incarnation. You know what I'm saying? And he could be on Earth as an incarnation. Because these beings, in a book called, it was a Wu-nuwaup lesson called The Story of Risk, where they talk about how these beings were able to keep incarnating every time they died, and they keep coming back in new forms or new bodies. That's why you can see a picture of, yeah, I was going to go to that. You know what I'm saying? This is why you'll see a picture of Sadihis and Tarnush, even though they talk about the same being as Alelu, this is the different incarnations of these beings. Just like, you know, Alelu was on the bureau. And what happened, the Tuesday update that we just had, right? It should be up pretty soon, right? They were saying that Alelu was on Nibiru, he took over, then he was ousted, left Nibiru for fear of his life because he was going to get killed by Anu. Went to Earth, set up the Atlantis. You know what I'm saying? He was the one that sent Atlantis up. And it was a Pumu, what's that word? Pumu, you know what I'm saying? The place that, you know, you saw in Central America, the destruction and stuff like that, right? In the Mayan temples, Alelu made all that. And he genetically grafted the beings that you call the Mayans, Incas, and Aztecs that was in that area that he was working, experimenting on, and creating another humanoid type race in there. This is why they said, whatever happened to the Mayans? He said the Mayans what? Left. You know what I'm saying? Then they so-called came back, and you hear all the thing about the Mayan calendar, year 2000, end of the world thing. You hear me? But we talk about the end of the planet. We talk about the end of the world of your rule. You know what I'm saying? So this Alelu was on Earth. Enki came to, I'm trying to get that, Central America or South America, cut a deal with a Ladle. Ladle gave him his daughter to marry, which is Damkina, also known as Ninki, right? Then he went to his father and said, look, my man got to go, let's do some business. So Anu came down and said how great the empire that Ladle made. But then Lil said, well, you know, out of jealousy, like, this nigga trying to kill you. You know, so what happened is Anu rejected the offer. Inky was insulted that his brother came into the deal that he was going to cut. You know what I'm saying? He got pissed off. This is caused a conflict of the gods between the two brothers. You know what I'm saying? So Ladle saw what happened and he fled Earth because he was in fear of his life that Anu was going to destroy him. And Anu started destroying Central America. This is why we had a book called Great Balls of Fire Cast to the Earth. You ever seen that book before?
Yeah, with those balls and
yeah, those big giant balls. And what happened is you find these big, massive steel. Is that supposed to be made of steel or some or rock? Rock, and you find them in different areas of South America, because this is the balls that they use to destroy these areas.
Mostly in Costa Rica.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And the master teacher said it's going to come a time when they come back, they're going to pull those balls back up and shoot it right back at the planet again. You know what I'm saying? Destroy the population down. And some people will be eaten. Some people will get fried. Some people will get, you know, and some people will die. You feel me? Yeah. Go ahead right there. Yeah, go ahead. And with that, I'm going to pass the class over to my brother, Samita.
I would like to touch on...
What's that? All right, go ahead, what's your question?
Yeah, I was touching on this airliner that disappeared a couple of months back. 370 airline, the 370 flight.
Oh, yeah,
Flight
okay.
370.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that with today's technology and everything, they can find nothing, a black box. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a mysterious thing that we call distraction.
Right.
Yeah, you know, if we talk about, hey, look over here, hey, we're looking over here. Everybody, you see that? No, I don't see it. No, but we put it out there. It's over there. Look.
Right.
You see it? Do you see it?
Right.
So that's called a WMD. That's weapon of mass distraction.
Right.
Mass teacher explained. He said, while they're talking about that, you need to be looking to see what's actually going on in the world. You know, so it was interesting because we waited to see what he was going to say about it. We was like, you know, it might be 8, you know, they might have get eaten and all of this good stuff like that, but he literally said it was a distraction.
Might as well probably. It's so funny. I was reading just a couple liner of a book that's out. That was talking about technology that they have today called the pulverizer. Like they could basically pulverize anything in midair, a building, and it will pulverize into nothingness. And they're saying that's a new technology now that they have today, which I don't know if you ever heard about or are familiar with that.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. You know.
All right. All right, so I wrote that down. Let me mention this right here while we were talking about it. You mentioned about the movie with the guy talking about a little boy talking about he went to heaven and all of this good stuff like that, right?
Right.
What our math teacher has done by teaching us with right knowledge, right? We understand that we have to get to a level of correct information in order for us to be able to tell the illusions from the facts, right? Okay, so in a patriarch that you want to, everybody who was asking the questions dealing in that area, you want to be able to make sure that you look up a patriarch called the mind's eye. Okay, let's get into it a little bit. I'm going to read from I'm going to start at verse 36. And it's not going to be that long. We're going to read it right to 61, all right? So that you can kind of see, because I'm glad you came back, sister, because I was looking for you. Because it ties into what both of y'all are talking about. With this particular patriarch, it's called the mind's eye. It's really important, okay? As our math teachers taught us, especially when you're dealing with people talking on a quote-unquote metaphysical conversation, right? Whenever somebody says metaphysical, the only thing that's happened as far as the word metaphysical in and of itself is it's been given weight just because it sounds like something special. You know what I'm saying? When meta really just means above and beyond, and you're talking about physical. So if I start talking about quantum physics, that's metaphysical too. You know, if I start talking about vibrations, that's metaphysical too. So really when we're talking about metaphysical things, really, the spook side of it is the only thing that they think they're talking about, things that they have no real knowledge of. Okay, so let's get into some anatomy, let's get into some biology, and let's get into some understanding of the workings of your mind, so that people can start saying, okay, maybe there's more to just my mind than me thinking that it's all having to be something outside of me, right? All right, here, starting in verse 36 in Patriarch Mind's Eye, it says, you have processed your vision from your katal, mind. For you see, in order to see, you must use your machak, brain, as well as your aynat, ayantui, eyes. Light in the form of shape, form, and colors enter your ayantui, or eyes. The light is reflected from the object that enters the cornea of the eye. There it is refracted, or bent, as it goes through the baka, or pupil. I didn't have the verse at the time for you, but this is going right for what my brother was talking about. And then through the kada, iris, or lens of the ayan, eye. The refraction causes the rays of light to cross within the eye. When the rays cross, the image of the objects are inverted or turned upside down and projected off the retina. That projected light or radiant energy is then turned into chemical energy by the retina. Therefore, the light or image is reversed, upside down, projected to a screen inside your head, behind your eyes, connected to nerves. This image sends a message to the brain, and the brain computes what it is on the screen as 46, then reverses it upright and projects it outside back at the image of what it is as it was when first perceived. Yet you see it as you think of it or remember it the way you feel about it. Think about that for a moment. Think about a place that you've been in your mind right now. Right? Think, how old are you? Yeah, if you don't mind me asking.
I'm 24.
When's your birthday, if you don't mind me asking?
My birthday is August 30th, but I am a Virgo.
That's fine. All right, so you remember your last birthday?
It was last year.
Right, right. Do you remember what you did during that birthday?
Nothing really.
No, you said nothing really. No, I'm saying, do you remember what you did? Do you remember where you were?
I was at home.
You was at home?
Yeah.
So you're thinking about it right now? Can you see home right now on your birthday last year?
Yeah.
All right, so you just traveled in time, right? That's metaphysical. You just traveled in time, right? But the thing is, in your mind, you saw where you were on that day, so you went there, right? In your mind, you saw it, right?
Yeah.
The same way you're seeing what you see here. When you see me up here, that's the same way you just brought that image up in your mind for a year ago on your birthday, right?
Yeah.
So you have the ability to be able to see something that's not there, don't you?
Right.
All right, so here we go. 48. If you fear a thing as a child, you may look at an unknown adult you see as a giant before you. You don't remember, that is, recognize, so you become frightened. The person may not mean you any harm, yet you created what you needed to protect your body. Or an animal such as a dog may look like a monster to you if you don't recognize it and saw its teeth. You then store this image in your subconscious mind, in your mind's eye. He or it was a giant monster. I remember the math teacher was talking about how people get afraid in a storm and things of that nature, right? You might be in the bed, right? And then you put your coat up on the coat hanger, right? Then you go to lay down and it's storming outside, you get a little bit of lightning, right? And when you got that little bit of lightning, now all of a sudden that coat hanger is standing over in the corner and it's kind of looking like this, is menacing, and now you all of a sudden you're scared like there's a monster in your corner, right? You just created a monster when it's nothing but your coat hanger. But in that moment where you had that fear, it was very real to you because you made it a monster. right? So the same thing ends up happening when you have these people talking about, oh, I saw an angel, right? Because think about it. Back to what the brother was talking about. You talking about you saw an angel, but when somebody starts to ask you what this angel looked like, it's very, very convenient that the angels that you say that you looked at or you saw, or the heaven that you say you were in, is just like all of the Sunday morning specials that you watched when you was growing up. Because the images are implanted into your subconscious mind. So a lot of what's going on is not you seeing anything outside of you more than what you're actually reflecting outside of yourself. And you're saying, oh, that's what's going on. Have you ever seen something and then you say, man, my mind is playing tricks on me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so why isn't that a supernatural experience? We say, oh, man, I'm tripping. But when it's spooky and it falls in line with your religion, then all of a sudden it's not, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not I'm tripping no more. Now it's like, no, it was a divine revelation from God. You see? But when somebody else comes and they ask you a question to test that, now you get upset. Right? I'm not talking about you in particular, I'm talking about people. Now people get upset when the brother says, well, what language was he speaking? I don't know, it doesn't matter what color was his skin. He the color of water, it don't matter. What? You had the experience, you had the contact. If you had the contact, that means you were supposed to be able to see it for what it was there. Now when somebody's asking you what you saw, now all of a sudden you can't remember. It doesn't matter anymore now. Because now what's happening is you're having to be faced with the facts. Right? And that's how we as Wu-nuwaupians have been taught by our master teacher. We operate by the facts because what we have to be able to build is what he taught us as a psychic self-defense. We have to have a psychic self-defense, and it has to be able to pass through a test in order for us to find out whether or not this particular thing is true or if it's an illusion. You see what I'm saying? David Blaine will do a trick, and they like, oh, this dude got magic. You see what I'm saying? Oh, he's a magician. That's magic. You saw that? It was a leaf floating off a tree in his hand. You saw that? But then when somebody tell you how he did it, then it's like, dang, he got it. You know what I'm saying? We had an awesome magician at the ball. Still can't figure out how he did some of the stuff that he did, right? But we know that it was tricks. You see what I'm saying? There's a method. Somebody knows how it was done. And this goes all the way back to what we were talking about earlier when you're talking about Gnostics versus agnostics. See, in Latin, the word Gnostic comes from the word gnosis. And that just means knowing or to know. When you start dealing in agnostic is what all of your religions are now, because having that A in front of Gnostic is saying ad or being like against or anti. So it's saying it's against knowing. So that's why when you talk to a person that's up under faith and everything, and you start talking about facts, they say, well, you know, brother, I hear what you're saying, brother, but nobody knows everything.
Right.
Right, but wait, no. You can't say that nobody knows everything. You just have to say what you don't know. Because you don't know what, you're limiting everybody. Have you met everybody?
Right.
Have you tested everybody to know what everybody knows?
Right.
So right now you're saying everybody doesn't know something when the reality is when you made that statement, you're saying something that you definitely don't know.
Right.
But now you're upset because somebody does know something. You're upset because the master teacher knows over 19 languages. You're upset because over the last 40 plus years he hasn't been proved wrong by anybody. You know what I'm saying? That's what's happening. You got people who are upset only because they can't be him. You see what I'm saying? People, instead of saying, okay, he's right, let me step in line and actually move like how he say, let's move. Right? Instead of saying, okay, yeah, he right, and every time I try to go and test him, he passed the test. Instead of them saying, okay, let me get off my ego and say, yeah, so obviously, man, I tried to test him on everything. He was right. So you know what? This must be somebody I need to learn from. Right? Instead of doing that, now all of a sudden they got to say, no, see, the reason why I can't follow him because, you know, look at how he dressed. It's nothing but ego, and it's still just pure ignorance. You see what I'm saying? And here we are still talking about we want to move into knowing, but yet we still moving on our opinion about somebody who knows more than we do. And that's a part of the spell that's been done to us. We hate ourselves, so therefore we definitely hate somebody who look like us, because then what we're going to say, he's just a man like me.
Yeah.
He's just a man like me. He don't know more than me. He don't have no ability higher than me. But then every time you turn, see, this is the other thing too. The master teacher taught us this. He said your mind, right? Your mind doesn't differentiate between what's real and what's not real when you're looking at a TV screen. Because think about it. What's happening is this. The same way that your mind works to take this light, as I'm looking at you, right? All I'm looking at is light coming into what I just explained from verse 36 down to verse 46. Those 10 verses inside of Patarak, the mind's eye. Everybody's phone going off. Everybody's phone going off. Yeah, it's the Michael Jackson. Exactly. One moment. We'll take a pause for calls.
Yo, that's you.
No, that's you. No, but your other phone.
Oh, it's
okay. but where was I at before Michael got down? No, but talking about the brain, he explained that the method in which your brain is dealing, because our brain is a holographic computer. That's how our brain operates, right? So when you have somebody now having these screens, you can go to the movies and watch a movie in 3D now, right?
Right.
You got surround sound, you got all these, you got extra HD, 3D, so it's like it's right there with you. So it's just as real in your mind's eye then as it is when you're sitting looking at this brother right here, because it's still, you're just dealing with light.
You're dealing with frequencies.
You're dealing with, exactly, energy, light, frequency, whichever term we want to use for that particular manifestation of that energy, right? But the thing is, your mind still takes it in the exact same way that it takes us down in this room. So therefore, it's still real to your mind's eye. And that's why what happens with our young people as they're being shown these images of other people being in power, just like right now you got the movie Noah that's out, right? You got, I'm just talking about movies.
Oh, I thought it was something about Jesus.
Noah is a Noah movie out. The Flood is a movie about another movie about Jesus. Every 2 years they got a movie about Jesus because they got to keep that image out there. Remember, the master teacher taught us this. He said, "You never heard about a white boy with shoulder-length blonde hair going around into the hood and getting beat down. You never heard about that." And he said the reason why you never heard about that is because that image of God has been planted in black people's mentality. So it's like, even if he a bum, we don't beat him down when he walking in the street. Why? Because he still look like Jesus.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So the image is planted in your mind's eye. And therefore you hate when you see the master teacher who looks like you. Because you know what I'm saying? Because the image of what God looks like that's been planted in your mind has to look like something other than you. And that's how powerful it is for them to be able to get into your mind. So yeah, so let people that's talking on the metaphysical, can we talk psychological before we jump all the way into whatever other nothingness you want to jump into? Like the master said, crazy people just start talking when they hear something. Without
you ain't lying.
He said, it's a trait, it's a character trait of crazy people to just start talking, right? So what happens is you have people who will learn a little bit about something, not mastering any of that, and they'll just go talking. You understand? And that's what happens. And then in order for them to try to back up their talking, they'll just back up their talking with more talking. Because then what they're going to do is they're going to call you names. They're going to say, no, you're crazy. And they're going to never stand up on facts, any truth, any confirmation. And then that's when, you know, it's really no argument. Seek out Patarak called The Argument. He addresses that in there as well. All right, you seem like you got another question.
Okay, yeah. All right, my question is, well, my statement is, it kills me that the chakras and the kundalini is used as a way to be combined with the Bible, but to, I mean, where it's not crazy, it's an oxymoron to me, if you want to put it that way. Because I think because the kundalini and chakra is dealing with more of the spiritual aspect, whereas the Bible is dealing with a lot of politics in a sense. I mean, if you really think about like religion itself, it's just basically politics. Because if you just look into the doctrine, when it goes into the story about Israel and all these, in the 10 Commandments, etc., and then same way with the Quran, when it goes into talking about how you have to obey Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you have to follow his word and all that other stuff, and talks about the holy city of Mecca, which is today in Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, I think it's just an oxymoron to even just try to put the idea of chakra, kundalini with the religion doctrine, because that's just not how they're intertwined, because the doctrines itself is not meant to be on a spiritual, it's not meant to be spiritual, in my opinion. That's how I see it. I mean, it's just more so of controlling the masses of people and, controlling the economics and, keeping people under control mentally, like enslaving them.
Was that a question?
Well, it was kind of like a statement, but I'm just seeing what, what your view on it. So,
so is the question, what's my view on what your opinion was just now?
Yeah, well, what I just said, is it...
Okay.
Do you see where I'm going with this? Like,
I think so. Tell me if I'm going wrong, though.
Okay.
I think it sounded like you were trying to ask how are topics like energy seats or things of that nature, how does that correlate with religion as we see it right now?
Yeah, how can you...
Because one thing that you definitely confused me on this one part where you said you were saying when they are trying to put kundalini and chakra.
Well, when I say they, I'm talking about people.
I'm trying to figure out who the they are.
People in the religions organization, your imams, your rabbis, your teachers, whoever is in the religious organization teaching the doctrine. Yeah, when they try to, for me, coming from the Hebrew Israelite, when they try to put the kundalini and the chakras in there and try to, kind of, I guess, water it down in a sense.
Okay. I think first.
I just think it's oxymoron to me.
I feel you, and I think I can understand why you would see it like that, and I think that makes sense. So let's kind of address it. First off, you were talking about spiritual versus political. One, right? You said that one thing is spiritual while religion is
right. What I was saying, like the chakras and like kundalini is dealing with more on the spiritual aspect, because you like dealing with the knowledge of yourself.